maybe, a month or two, gold will be out of everyone's reach. It will reach maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. No one will be able to touch it at that point. Actually, no one will be able to get it at that time. Everyone will be too late to the party, and the market is going to continually collapse. The housing market is going to collapse. We're already seeing that, and I know a lot of people didn't believe me going back a year ago.
It's been 115 years since investors had an opportunity like this. The energy of the future. Now Elon Musk and Frank Giustra are betting big on the rise of this energy source that will change the world. We're talking about the oil of the 21st century. Learn more at crushthestreet.com/charge.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to crushthestreet.com. I am Kenneth Amaduri, and I'm joined today with YouTube rock star Dave from X22Report.com. His YouTube channel's X22 Report, and where he does his interviews, X22 Report Spotlight. Dave, thanks for joining me today.
Ken, thanks for having me on. I'm really happy to be here.
Dave, we're going to be uncovering some truth today. And last time we talked, we explored the scam of the central bank fiat Ponzi scheme. And, I encourage anyone who missed that interview to go and listen to it. It was a timeless interview and a timeless discussion. And today I want to get some of your thoughts on inflation versus deflation. I just interviewed Harry Dent, who called gold simply a commodity and not money, in that he says gold is going below 1,000 and going to 600 as the world deleverages. So I guess I'll set you up like this. What does a credit bubble mean to you?
Well, the credit bubble that we're seeing right now is everyone who is living in the U.S., throughout Europe, everything is on credit. I mean, if you really think about it, and there's different levels of credit, but when we really think about credit, if you take your household today and you try to remove credit from your life and just live on your everyday salary that's coming in, is it possible? Many people will not be able to survive. Many people live their lives on credit and they worry about the payments later. And the credit bubble continually grows over time. And we're getting to this point where credit, the bubble, has gotten so big at this point that this is just another bubble that cannot be sustained. And when the economy completely freezes up, when everything just comes to a screeching halt, credit is also going to freeze up. And it's funny because I spoke to Bill Holter, and he explained to me, when the credit market freezes up, businesses that run on credit for deliveries, because you have to remember, businesses, many except for Apple and maybe Microsoft and maybe Google, many of the other businesses, they all run on credit. So when things come to a screeching halt, credit is going to dry up. It's going to freeze. And this is going to be a major problem, because once this freezes, companies will not be able to make payments to their drivers for shipments to produce. And what we're going to see is the shelves on stores completely empty because the deliveries won't be able to get there. And this is one of the biggest worries, and actually something that we're seeing in Venezuela, where we're not seeing the store shelves restocked, because what's happening is they're seeing huge amount of inflation. First of all, their currency is being devalued, and people are running to the supermarkets trying to get whatever they possibly can. Deliveries aren't coming in, so it's becoming more and more difficult to get those products. Here in the United States, we've been living in a world where credit is free-flowing. Deliveries are always there. It seems that, the shelves are always stocked. Sometimes we have periods where, I wish that was there, but it's not. But don't worry, next Tuesday it will be in. But when this whole thing comes crashing down, everything is going to freeze up. The deliveries to the stores will not happen. And this is going to be part of when everything starts to fall apart, where people will not be able to get the supplies and the goods that they need. And this will be part of the collapse scenario. And a lot of people don't think of this because right now, stores today, they don't keep anything in the back rooms, in warehouses, like they used to do many years ago. Everything that's out in the store is just out in the store. They have no reserves anywhere else, and they might have it someplace in the warehouse. But again, how are they going to get it to the store when everything just freezes up?
So, Dave, when you talked about Venezuela, their credit bubble is setting in an inflationary shock. And, so I guess, what do you suppose is going to happen here in the U.S.? Do you suppose it could happen the same way where we'll see an inflationary shock, or more so the way Harry Dent sees it, and it's a deflationary shock where everything just collapses in price?
Well, I see both, and I compare it to a tidal wave, a tsunami type of huge tidal wave coming in. When the water recedes, that's the deflation. And I think this is what we're seeing right now. And we're seeing inflation in certain areas, but as it flows out, the water disappears, and the same thing in the economy. We're going to see deflation in the beginning, but what we're going to do, what's going to happen is that wave is going to hit, and we're going to see a massive increase in prices, which means the devaluation of the dollar. And the reason for this is because out in the Middle East, the U.S. is completely losing control of each one of the countries: Yemen, Libya, Iraq, Syria, and everything is based off the petrodollar. Now, when the petrodollar ceases to exist, when the Chinese and the Russians and the rest of the world decides, something, we're not going to be using this petrodollar, this dollar that we use to purchase our oil, to purchase goods. When they stop doing that, where do all these dollars go? Well, they flood back to the United States. We see the devaluation of the dollar, and we see inflation. This is what the U.S. government central bankers have been offloading out into Europe, into the Middle East, out into Asia for over the last, 7 years or so. But the time has come where everything is going to reverse itself, because the United States' plan was to go into the Middle East, to prop this entire system up by replacing all the governments in these countries, and hopefully get into Syria, then Iran, because they need to continually spread the debt. They need to continually put the dollar on the natural resources. And this is all coming to an end. We can see it right in front of our eyes. I mean, the United States just yesterday started bombing in Libya once again. They're doing this not to go after the Islamic State. They're doing this to keep their system alive, to keep it propped up a little bit longer. And we're getting rumors, we're hearing things that the dollar right now, the international for trade around the world, most likely is going to completely disappear. And someone pointed out very interestingly to me, that if you look at the new $100 bill, I don't know, Ken, if you've seen it before, but the right-hand side, has gold, it says 100, and everyone goes, oh, it's going to be a gold-backed
right
currency, and that's what we're doing. But if you really look at it, there's two halves. The left half, when you look at it, it's green, not much color. The right half is gold, and there's a lot of color in it. It says the United States of America. The left-hand side says the Federal Reserve. If you look at the old 100 or the old $50 bill or the old $20 bill, you can see that it's all pretty much one color, maybe a little color splash in here and there. But something popped out on the bill which is very interesting. The old $100 bill, it had a saying on there that all debts will be paid, public or private, and that was under the Federal Reserve section, under the logo of the Federal Reserve. on the new $100 bill, they moved that over to the United States of America. So on the right-hand side of the $100 bill, it says the United States of America, and under it, this is where all the debts will be paid to.
Wow.
On the left-hand side, it has the Federal Reserve, and it doesn't say that there anymore, which is very interesting. So a lot of people are looking at this and saying, is this the intermediate currency that's going to be used? And the right-hand side will be the certificate to redeem for the next currency. If you have the older bills, you might not be able to redeem them. They might say, well, we don't accept those at this point. And if you really think about it, most of the countries around the world, well, I know a lot of the currency is digital, but it's based on the older Federal Reserve note.
Wow.
So,
well, what I was going to say is, it's amazing how we get into these moments where the governments and the Federal Reserve just go in and just steal the wealth from the people. And, of course, in 1933, we had them come in and they took everyone's gold, which was people's money. That's how they stored their wealth. They took that from people and gave them devalued currency immediately overnight. And I've just been thinking over the last while now, what is the next version of that going to look like? And I definitely believe it's unfolding here. I don't know, do you have any thoughts on, in addition to what you said, as to how we will see our currency, and our purchasing power stolen from us into the next couple years here?
Yes, I think once the United States and the rest of the world, they look at the internationally traded dollar and they say this can no longer be, there's too much debt, it cannot be sustained, and we need to, get out of this. I think what's going to happen is China, Russia, this new currency that will come in will remove the internationally traded dollar, the reserve dollar of the world, and the United States will have a domestic currency only. Wow. And the United States will not have the reserve currency of the world. Now, when this does happen, what's going to happen is everything is going to be devalued quite a bit. And once it is devalued, what we're going to see is our way of life here in the United States is going to completely change. It will no longer be the way we have it today. We will not have first world type of living arrangements. We will be in the same boat as a third world nation. Yeah. And they're really actually preparing for this. If you look at the TPP and you look at certain sections that have been leaked from the TPP, that's a Trans-Pacific Partnership, which Obama is trying to get passed, which of course was written by corporations, which was kept a secret. Certain areas were leaked out. But when you really look at it, you see that there's a certain section in here in the TPP where it will allow them to bring manufacturing back to the United States, but not the way people think it's going to come back to the United States. Everyone thinks, well, that's incredible. We're going to bring manufacturing back. We're going to build everything, but they're going to bring it back with foreign workers. The foreign workers will get the currency, whatever they were paid in their country, that's what they're going to be paid with here. So if they were making, 50 cents an hour, $1 an hour, that will be the going rate here. So the American worker will have to compete with the foreign worker. Mm. And this is completely impossible because no one's going to go from a $18, $19, $20, $21 an hour job to, $1.50, $2. So there's going to be a huge adjustment here in the United States. A lot of people will not be able to handle this. And I think they've been preparing for this with Obama's immigration, trying to bring in as many illegals into the country. And I have nothing against illegals coming into the country. There's a reason why we have reason why we have checkpoints. There's a reason why we have a process. But just for someone to jump over a fence and say, okay, I can stay in the country, there's always an agenda associated with that. because we might as well just knock down the borders right now and just let everyone in. But I think what they want to do is they want to bring in as many as these individuals they possibly can, because they're going to need workers that won't really argue with the amount that they're getting paid, because it's the same in their country. I think this is what they've been preparing for. You read the TPP, you can see it's in there. You can new currency. They're pushing that out right now, and you can see that China, Russia, they're continually purchasing gold. The United States has no gold, and I think the price of gold, whatever it's going to be linked to at that point in time, maybe not more. We're going to see gold prices shoot up. I don't think we're going to see gold prices go down. There will be a leveling off, but in the beginning, I think what's going to happen is they're going to price whatever the currency is in gold, and it's going to skyrocket. I don't think it's going to go down, and I think as more and more countries, investors are viewing and seeing what's going on, I think they're out there purchasing more and more gold because they're very nervous and they realize it is money. It is money. It's been around for thousands of years. And it's funny because I was just visiting my father, and he's a very hard man to convince, about, everything that we're talking about. And I said, listen, if I buried the dollar bill in the ground and I buried a gold coin and we came back, 300 years later and we dug it up, how much would that dollar be worth? How much would the gold be worth? And if we look back in time at other societies, we know the paper will probably disintegrate, but if you did dig it up and it was intact, it would be worth probably nothing, because at that point there'd probably be a new currency in circulation.
Right.
Everyone would recognize. And whatever the going rate is at that time, that's what it would be worth. And that's why that is real money compared to I guess Harry Dent, I know that gold was going to go down, but I just don't see it happening. I see why gold did go down. I see the suppression. I see the central banks behind it. I see other banks like UBS and other banks that were manipulating the gold prices. But if we just let gold go and let the market go according to the physical gold that is out there, the price of gold would completely. If you look at USDebtClock.org, they actually price the gold in the M2 money supply, and that's on the bottom right-hand side of that, and it's around like 7,000 or so per ounce. So, and if you look at silver, it's like 700 and change per ounce, and that tells you where we are. We really are. Because if we use the calculation of how much currency is out there compared to the amount of gold, you can see that today it's completely off the mark. It's not even close. And we can see that China they've created their own physical gold market. Everything the West has, the East is reproducing, getting prepared, ready to kind of take over the system. And we know the United States government, central bankers, they don't want to give up the system. They make a lot of money on international trade with the reserve dollar. And they have the ability to sanction countries. They have the ability to use force on different nations. And they don't want this to end. And they're like screaming children. When they don't get their way, they bang their feet, and they lash out.
Yeah.
And this is what we're seeing right now, right here today.
Dave, talking about the system, the establishment, the elites in power, the 1% of 1%, we were talking about a collapse, a changing system. Something tells me in whatever happens, these people are still going to benefit. They're still going to try to present some sort of propaganda to keep things going. Maybe that even means the stock market going higher. Maybe that still means unemployment at 4%, let's say, in an economy that's completely crumbling. But I want to ask you this. I thought it was really interesting that the week after the FBI gave Hillary Clinton her pass on the investigation, coincidentally, stocks hit brand new highs. And we know that, we're hearing Hillary Clinton received $48.5 million from Wall Street hedge funds. And, I just want to ask you this. Do you think stocks are going to go higher here with an establishment candidate, or are the fundamentals going to overwhelm the stock market?
Well, I think the central banker stock market with high frequency trading, plunge protection, free money flowing into the stock market, that's all they have left. To convince everyone that the economy is doing well. Actually, when I speak to people, that's all they refer to. I understand what you're talking about. Look at the stock market. It's 18,000 points. What are you talking about? The economy is doing fine.
Right.
And a lot of people refer to the stock market as which is nowhere near what and I think they will do this until the very end. And once at that point where everything is completely falling apart, or they have their event where they can blame this on another person, another country, another group, they will let the market fall at that point. And I think the market will come crashing down. And this will be all planned on their side. They'll know exactly when it's going to happen. They'll be prepared for it. Gold will shoot up. And I believe this is delete to war. And during this period when everything's falling apart and crashing, I don't even think the corporate media, the U.S. government, they're never going to admit that we even have a problem at that time. They're going to continually say that everything is still fine. We're going to recover from this. And this is when I think the Fed is going to step in and say, because of what just happened, we need QE. We need to create more of this currency to fix the problem. And people will just say, yes, do that. Fix the problem, please. And I think that's the path down that will go down. And will it fix the problem? No. It will keep it going long enough. And with war, they can use the excuse, okay, everyone has to tighten their belt. Everyone has to sacrifice. We're going through tough times right now because of what just happened, how we just got hit maybe by a cyber attack, physical attack, brought down the economy. And they will explain this all away. On one side, telling us it will be fine. We're doing extraordinary measures to fix the problem. The other side is we declare war. We have to go to war. Look what they did to our economy. And I think this is how this is going to play out. Maybe not exactly in that order, but we're going to hear a lot of this coming out of the State Department, Fed. And at the same time this is all happening, those who are in the know, they'll be buying as much gold as they possibly can get their hands on, and we're going to see gold prices skyrocket, and they will not be able to suppress it anymore. And maybe, a month or two, gold will be out of everyone's reach. It will reach maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. No one will be able to touch it at that point. Actually, no one will be able to get it at that time. Everyone will be too late to the party, and the market is going to continually collapse. The housing market is going to collapse. We're already seeing that. And I know a lot of people didn't believe me going back a year ago when I started. Well, I talked about the housing a lot way before that, but I've been talking to a lot of people who own houses who are trying to sell them. And guess what? Traffic is drying up. Things are really rapidly falling apart. Prices are coming down. Actually, 2 or 3 people just wrote me an email the other day saying that their house has been on the market for 9 months. They have come down $40,000 in price. They can't move their house. So they're just going to take it off the market. And we're starting to see this in many different areas. Now, is it every single area? No. But this is how it begins. And when people see prices of houses coming down, when they see the market, the whole thing, it's done. Right. the United States government central bank will not be able to recover from this, and this is why they're going to use extraordinary measures at this point. And people just say, "Yes, please save us. We need more QE. Whatever you're going to do, just do it."
Yeah, as negative interest rates, unprecedented amount of QE. And speaking of Bill Holter, he'll actually tell you that it's happening. The Exchange Stabilization Fund is behind the scenes covertly doing QE. And you know what? It's one of those things that there's no way of knowing how this is going to ultimately play out, because we've never seen anything like it before in history. But I appreciate you coming on the show and shedding some light on this global economic mess that's unfolding, Dave. If you would, share some closing thoughts here with everyone, and of course, let everyone know about your own channels.
Well, what I see right now, I see that we're at a point in time where the statistical information that the government is giving us, like unemployment, GDP, inflation, that is moving further and further away from reality. And the stock market is not reality. That's the illusion. When we look at manufacturing, we look at the real unemployment calculation, we look at everyday people, we can see that the economy is rapidly deteriorating very, very quickly. And there are certain signs that you can pick on. Things are rapidly falling apart. One, United States government central bankers continually provoke war across the world. You'll see more propaganda come out. You'll see more bombings in the Middle East. You'll see more events occur. You will also see the gold price continually move up. When they suppress it by $40, $50, $60, and the gold price makes new highs and it continually moves up, this is another sign that we're getting closer and closer, because they don't have the ability to suppress like the people. They are, when there's many people in the market purchasing, and there's a lot of volume purchasing gold, yes, they can throw 18 million contracts, paper contracts at gold, but there's a certain point where the people will win out, and we are continually seeing make all-time new highs. It's continually moving up. So these are certain signs that we need to watch for. For those people who aren't prepared, you don't want to end up like those in Venezuela. You want to make sure that you have food, you have water. At this time, I would be buying gold. If you can't afford gold, I'd be buying silver. If you can't afford junk silver, buy some junk silver. Whatever you can do. Even copper, I would purchase. I would have water, supplies, a weapon to protect yourself. Because when this hits, and we talked about this in this interview, when the credit market freezes up, supplies stop, it's going to be a complete nightmare. And you don't want to be in the situation where you're worrying, you're running around, and you're trying to look for supplies for your family. You want to make sure that you're prepared for what is coming.
Dave, great closing thoughts there. And I think next interview, I want to have you on, and maybe we'll discuss vaccinations, because we were discussing that just casually before the interview, and you got a lot of information on immunizations and insight on what the real agenda is going on with the government. But again, excellent insight on the economy, thoughts on precious metals, thoughts on what's going on globally, and really making sense of the truth that is out there. So thanks again for coming on.
Ken, thanks.